for coming out. If you just give us a minute or two to give people time to get in here, we'll get started. Okay. Good morning, everybody. My name is Quincy, and I'm with the education team over here at the Houston chapter of SCORE. Thank you all for coming out to this workshop today, and QuickBooks workshop. Okay, I'm going to get started by going over a few things about SCORE. For those of you all that might have heard little or might not have heard nothing at all. One, SCORE is a national nonprofit organization with over 300 chapters and 11,000 volunteers nationwide. We have helped over 11 million entrepreneurs since we started. SCORE has one nice, great feature and very beneficial, which is SCORE Mentors. SCORE Mentors is where you can meet one-on-one with business experts in many different specialties. We advise, educate, and encourage business leaders to help them develop and become successful in their business. You can always go by requesting a SCORE mentor at houston.score.org. Once again, that's houston.score.org, which is a free service to request a mentor. And you can always go back and ask them any other questions you need pertaining to your business matters. Also, as you know, we do have workshops. So while you're on that page requesting a mentor, don't forget to look at the workshops and or some of our tools, templates, business plans, newsletters that's online, and that's a free resource. While we're at it, don't forget about the SBA, which is affiliates with us. So please check out the Houston district chapter of the SBA and see what all available resources that they have. With that being said, I'm going to pass it over to Ms. Lalitha, and she's going to take it from here. Ms. Lalitha.
Thank you, Quincy. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Maybe we'll put all our email addresses in the chat box. And if you need anything, you can contact me or Jada. Both of us will be very happy to talk to you or even give you any kind of pointers you want. What it is when you start a business, a lot of us don't understand. You think, oh, I just go there and I can sell my product. I can sell online. I can sell anywhere. But you don't understand that anything you do have to keep track of what is it that you invested in the business. What is it that you're making on the business? Is it really worthwhile for you to be going through all these 24 hours working for yourself and then trying to make money? Then come the year end, the IRS is asking, hey, where's my money? So those kind of questions you can only do or answer if you have a good handle on your accounts, So it's very, very important for you to keep track of the money you have, money you spend. What is it that you're buying? Are you really making a good profit? Is it worthwhile for you to do this business? So you need to ask all these questions because, businesses can be started, but you're going to have to live through it for the next 10 years to be really getting to where you need to be going. And you have to think about your own future and where you want to go. So with all that, it's very important to keep track of what is it that you're doing, keeping track of your books, keeping track of your bookkeeping. You may say, bookkeeping, I hear that a lot. Bookkeeping, I'm a business person. Why do I have to keep books? Well, you have to. Otherwise, you can't do the business. Because just think, what you're looking for. Right now, it's July. We have not had a hurricane for the last couple of years now. But Pasadena, they had a tornado and a lot of businesses lost their records. So you have to be prepared for your disasters. What your preparedness is, you need to have your record straight, because how much money did you make this year so far? How much inventory did you buy? So all these things are also important. Keeping books, keeping account of it is not only for running your operation day to day or looking forwards to the future, but also be prepared for any untold event. How many of you remember what happened to you when the government offered PPP loans or EIDL loan during COVID? They asked, how much did you make? How many employees do you have? What do you pay them? If you didn't know those answers, you won't be able to get your assistance. So these are kind of important things. So that's why keeping track of your books, keeping track of your accounts is important. And Jada has been with SCORE for the last few years. And from the time she started with our chapter, she has a lot of business experience. She has a degree in accounting. She has a degree in law. So she knows how to handle things. And she's been in business for herself. So she understands the importance of keeping track of your accounts, and she can answer many of your questions, So with that, she is also, I have to thank her for helping me in making this come across, because she never says no whenever I say, Jada, we need to do a workshop, because she does not only workshop with us, she works very diligently with the city of Houston. They have a panel discussion that will be tomorrow. Every month, they have one at the HCC on the south side. And what do they discuss? They discuss all kinds of different aspects of doing business. It's not just contracting. It's not bookkeeping. It's sales, marketing. How do you deal with people? So this is a one-on-one that they do. So if you get a chance sometime in the future, if not tomorrow, do attend one of them because you will also meet Dr. Jackson from City of Houston. And she has enough knowledge to give you some hints on how to be a successful entrepreneur. So we are going to be doing this. And so I'm going to let Jada take on from here. If you have any questions, please put them in Q&A. It'll be easy for us to track them. I like that because then we can immediately get to the question and answer, because I know a lot of you like to chat among yourselves. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Hey, how do we do this or something? We don't mind your chatting, you can go ahead and chat. I don't have any problems with it. You can exchange information. That's okay too. Unfortunately, we don't have any live workshop where you can meet the person in person and talk to them. So this is a good way of doing it. And Jada doesn't mind that either. But in order for us to fish through all this chatting that goes on and get to the right questions for you, it takes us a bit time. So getting to question and answers will be easier. So with that, I'm going to let Jada handle on from here. Thank you, Jada. Thank you, Quincy, for helping me.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Lolita, for that handoff, and Quincy for setting us up and getting us on our way. This is Bookkeeping Basics, or Introduction to Bookkeeping. We do have this webinar a couple of times per year to help entrepreneurs understand what is necessary in order to manage their business from a bookkeeping perspective, from an accounting perspective. Like Lolita said, you go into business doing what you love, but there is this piece that you have to understand in order to run your business appropriately. And thanks to SCORE that we're able to provide you with the resources you need in order to run your business, not just from a bookkeeping perspective, but from marketing, sales, legal. We have CPAs that can talk to you about your business. I think it's Consuela. I see your hand raised. Go ahead and put your question in the Q&A area, and we will address your question towards the end of the presentation. Those of you who do have questions, please feel free to put your questions in the Q&A area. In the chat area, that is your opportunity to network amongst the 122 people who are now on this webinar right now. Put your name, business name, maybe resources that you're looking for. We may not be able to meet in person through this webinar, but we are able to still exchange information. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's see, make sure my clicker's on. Okay, there we go. So again, this is Bookkeeping Basics, and what we're providing you is just the basics, the fundamentals of managing your business as far as it relates to the income that you're bringing in and the expenses that are going out. Now, everyone has heard of different accounting mechanisms or tools to help you to run your business. However, if you don't have the foundation, if you don't have a basic understanding of what bookkeeping includes, understanding or utilizing that tool, and you know I'm talking about QuickBooks, it can be difficult. So that's the reason why we felt that it was important to discuss the basics of bookkeeping with you, so that when you do attend our Introduction to QuickBooks webinar, that you have this foundation to build upon. So we are going through the introduction. We'll provide you with a brief overview, and the topics that we'll discuss will include the definition of bookkeeping. Like, I know you're thinking, I know what that means, but let me just go ahead and give it to you. All right. Then we'll discuss expenses, taxes, bank reconciliation, audits, also disaster recovery. Like Lolita said, we haven't had a natural disaster in Houston in a long time, but Pasadena has experienced tornadoes. And so if there is a disaster in your area, you want to be able to recover quickly. Like Lolita said, I am an entrepreneur and I understand what it means to have a business, and just one left turn can cause your business to change, pause, or even not exist. So it's important that we have our information in a state where we can recover quickly, and we'll talk more about that. And then, as I promised, towards the end, in the last 45 minutes, we will have a Q&A session. You can ask all questions about bookkeeping, about QuickBooks, about business in general, whatever is on your heart. So let's go ahead. So a little bit about SCORE. SCORE has been in existence since 1964, and we're affiliated with the Small Business Administration. In fact, if you stop by our office is in the same area as the SBA. So if there is an opportunity for you to discuss or need to make an appointment with the SBA, you're able to do so at our Gessner location. That is our home's location. We do have satellite sites all over Houston, because Houston is massive for individuals who are not from here, but it is a massive city. So we have satellite sites where you're able to meet with SCORE mentors. And if you are wanting to meet with someone in person, if you feel comfortable with meeting through Zoom, most, if not all, of our mentors do meet through Zoom. So our mission is to foster a vibrant small business community through mentoring and education. Our vision is that every person has the support necessary to thrive as a small business owner. I first got connected with SCORE when I first got laid off from the major university that I worked for, and I didn't know what to do next. I did have a desire to be in business for years, and I felt like, okay, this was the opportunity for me to go ahead and get into business and be an entrepreneur. And I got connected with SCORE with a mentor in where I used to live, and they ignited my desire to start a small business. And if those of you who are entrepreneurs know that this is a journey. So it wasn't that I got laid off and I started a business immediately. No, it took time, and I used the resources of SCORE in order to develop my business. And here we are today. So I have been, and I'll talk more about that, but the core values of SCORE is that your success is our success, and we thoroughly thrive on that. We want to see you succeed. We look forward to hearing the success stories, which I have been a part of many, and I look forward to helping more. Okay, how do we mentor or provide our resources to the community? That is through business advice, as well as no-cost business training like today, as well as business templates and resources that you can find on our website at houston.score.org, and the resources tab. And you can find everything from a business plan template to a forecasting template. Take a look, houston.score.org. We are a national organization. As I mentioned, I got first connected with SCORE where I used to live in Ohio. And so I was able to tap the resources there. But if I needed information from a mentor in another state, another city, I was able to do so. We're fortunate to have the largest chapter in the nation here in Houston with over 160 volunteers. So if you, the resources that you need, if you can't find here, you can find nationally. About our chapter, our current president is Chris Mahoney. As I mentioned, we have over 160 volunteers mentoring in areas of marketing. We do have CPAs as well as attorneys that you can speak directly to if you have questions, legal questions, accounting or tax questions that you can tap for free. You know, that's really a very lucrative resource that you are connected to through SCORE. We help start businesses as well as create jobs, provide chapter resources. We thoroughly help through the COVID, navigating the COVID resources. And we are reachable on all the socials. So connect to us so that you can see what's available next. Here's a little bit about me. I am a certified SCORE mentor in the areas of contract management, accounting, small business startup, as well as home health care. So I have been an entrepreneur since 2007. And so 16 years now, I've been an entrepreneur. And again, it's been a journey. It's not, that I've, had a straight and narrow way of entrepreneurship. It has totally been all kinds of, you see these things back here? They represent what my journey has experienced. And I'm still here, praise God. So, and I love it. I love being an entrepreneur. I love helping other businesses thrive. So I'm also a QuickBooks Pro Advisor, which means that I'm certified in QuickBooks Online. And so I help businesses navigate their QuickBooks subscriptions, help them get them set up, help them with the accounting, as well as manage contracts and projects through their QuickBooks subscription. I have 25 years of contracts and grant administrative experience, which includes managing two corporations simultaneously. I have an MBA in project management, a master's in criminal justice. My undergrad is in legal assisting, and I have an associate's in business administration. So that's a little bit about me. So here's that definition I promise you. According to the dictionary, bookkeeping is the activity or occupation of keeping records of the financial affairs of a business. Now, what's key about this definition is keeping records. So when you hear bookkeeping, you usually think of numbers. And if you're a numbers person like me, now I have a twin sister and she is the creative side. I am the number side. I could be creative at times, but I'm more numbers. So when I see things logically. I see them in I see numbers. You tell me a phone number or especially numbers related to money, I can remember it. But you tell me someone's name or directions. I get a little, turned around. But keeping records is key to running your business, which again is tied to numbers. If you show me someone's profit and loss statement, I can tell you right away what they've experienced through that period of time. That's because your numbers tells your story. Those of you who are interested in grants and contracts, it's a beautiful thing that you can, provide the city of Houston with cupcakes or widgets or, paving services. But if your numbers do not tie up to what they're asking for, your information, your contract, your bid, your grant gets pushed to the side because the numbers tell the story. Now, Wikipedia's definition, which I think was more thorough, is bookkeeping is the recording of financial transactions and is part of the process of accounting and business. Transactions include purchases, sales, receipts, and payments by an individual person or an organization, corporation. Now, we're going to break this down in just a few seconds, but keep all of this in mind that all of the purchases, the sales, receipts, payments, all of this needs to be packaged into what we know as the profit and loss and balance sheet, which tells the story of your business. So we're in business to make money. As much as you love if you're a nonprofit and you love the puppies and you want to save the puppies and all that good stuff, what's important is that you have sales, even in nonprofit. And a lot of people think, and this is not about, SCORE helps for-profit organizations, but a lot of times we get nonprofit questions and businesses that come our way, and then we provide you with, the information you need and hand you off to SDU, and I'll explain that if you have questions about that. It's another our sister organization that helps nonprofits. But even I'm just explaining to you that even nonprofits expect to have a profit. The only difference between a for-profit and a nonprofit is that the mission of your business is not for profit. Okay, the mission is to help the puppies, as compared for a for-profit that may be a canine rescue for-profit organization, but their secondary is the puppies, for the profit is primary. Let me get off my soapbox. But anyway, the reason why we're in business is to make sales. And so this is a visual for you to kind of see. Now, of course, when we swipe the card, or when our customers or clients swipe the card and they send us the invoice, it's all good. We know, money's going into the bank. But here is the breakdown of what your expectations should be of that swiping of the card, or the giving of the cash, or the payment of the invoice. Is that first a service or a product is sold, or both? Okay. We therefore invoice, or we provide a sales receipt to our customer or client. Now, the difference between an invoice and a sales receipt is the invoice happens in anticipation of a sale, and a sales receipt happens after the sale has happened. And so if you can kind of think in your mind, when you go to Walmart, they don't hand you invoices, they hand you sales receipt. Because if you walk out of there without a receipt, there's going to be a problem at the door, right? Okay, next. The payment is received. You receive the cash in your hand, in your till, in your, Stripe, in your QuickBooks. The payment is received. It's documented. The next is the payment is reconciled with the invoice. And a lot of times these next steps get overlooked or skipped because we got the money. That's all we're concerned with. But then I want you to kind of think past that. Okay, we got the money. What's next? I need to match that payment to the invoice. Now, I mentioned that I have 25 years of experience. So this is before QuickBooks, where we would get the check, okay, the canceled check, and then staple it to the invoice. Okay, so in your mind, this is what's happening behind the scenes with QuickBooks. The payment is then recognized by the bank, and then you want to ensure that. And then the revenue and cash accounts are affected. And then lastly, we retain the record. Now, we'll talk about record retention later on, but this is highly important in business. Now, if you're like me, run a, Walmart, for, purchase something personal or whatever, excuse me, not business related, that receipt gets tossed in my purse, which there's 1,000 of them, or it, gets thrown away or whatever. But in business, no matter what, you must retain your record. You must retain the receipt. Now, as far as sales, you must retain the invoice. You must retain the document that proves that you made a sale. And this is important because, again, and I say again, but this is important because ultimately, as business owners, what we want to do is make sure that our business is ran appropriately. So we need that record to use it to say, okay, yeah, I made a sale 6 months ago and it was profitable, and let me see how I can duplicate that sale. So that's one reason why you want to keep that record. But ultimately, you want to have proof, if you're ever audited, that that sale happened. You don't want to be in a position where you have, $1.5 million in sales and you can't prove where you got that money from. Okay, I'll put a pin in there. Okay, so once we have sales, of course, we have to have expenses. More money, more expenses, right? You make more money, you're going to have expenses as well. So one of the first steps is to review your bill or your expense. This is highly important because, especially in business, this is, unless you're an accountant or bookkeeper, this is secondary to your business. And so, in the beginning, you have 5 bills. You got the electric, you got the phone, you got, so on and so forth. So it's easy to review them, right? Or to assume that they're coming out correctly. But once you get in the thick of your business, year 2, year 3, you're not going to have time to look at these bills. But it's important that you review them, if not as it happens, but at least quarterly, monthly, quarterly, so that you know that the electric company is truly still charging you the $150 a range of what you expect, rather than trumping up the bill. So it's important for you to review it. Pay the bill, of course, and then you reconcile the bill with the payment. Okay, you made the payment, you have the bill, you connect them. Again, back in the day, staple them together, put them in a file cabinet. Next, expense is recognized by the bank. You see it come across your bank feed, you see it on your portal that it has been paid. The expense line and the cash line, the expense line increases and the cash line decreases. This is an accounting technique that must happen behind the scene. It's called double entry accounting, and it must happen. If you have an expense, that expense line increases and the cash, of course, decreases. Money comes out of your pocket. The transaction is then complete. And then if you could answer me, you would say the next step would be to what? Retain the record. You must keep that record to prove that 1.5 million that you made in sales that you have record of, that you used it to pay that expense. Okay, so that's sales and expenses. That's the bottom basics of bookkeeping. Okay. So next is taxes, which is inevitable, right? The first thing that comes to mind is sales taxes. Now, if you're a service-based business, most service-based business here in the state of Texas do not pay sales taxes unless you have a specialty business, and you should check with the comptroller's office to ensure that you, as a service-based business, does not have to pay sales taxes. But if you sell a product, 100% of the time, you must pay sales taxes. This is important because the state of Texas requires you to pay taxes on the products that you sell. And you would, if you're new to business, if you've ever been to, Walmart and you've purchased food versus a screwdriver, the food will not be taxed, but the screwdriver will, because it's a product. Okay. So if you are required to pay sales taxes, then you must connect with the comptroller's office in order for you to set up your sales tax portal. If you have questions about it, they're very good with answering your questions. It's very easy to get them on the phone as compared to the IRS. And they can provide you with the information you need in order to get your sales taxes set up. Now, there's other taxes that you should be concerned with as it relates to bookkeeping as well as being an entrepreneur, and that includes self-employment taxes. If you are not an employee of your business, then you would be required to pay self-employment taxes. If you are an employee of your business, then you do not need to pay self-employment taxes, because those taxes will be coming out of your employee check of your business. Self-employment taxes, if those of you who have been employed before, include that FICA tax. That's what you're paying as self-employment tax, and those are paid quarterly to the IRS. You also are required to pay taxes on your business, which if you are a solopreneur or a sole proprietorship, LLC, then you would be required to pay those taxes on your annual IRS tax forms through a Schedule C. If you are an S Corp or a C Corp, then you would pay those on another tax form, either 1120 or 1065. Those would be the annual taxes that you would pay for your business. Another tax that many businesses are not aware of is the property tax. If you have a brick and mortar, if you have a building that you work out of for your business, then you would pay property taxes. If you work from home or you work from a co-working space, then you do not have to pay property taxes. It's only buildings that you work out of. And those taxes are due annually to the state of Texas. Then there's also what's known as the franchise tax. Now, unless you meet the threshold, I believe, of $1.8 million, then you are not required to pay a tax. If you fall up under that threshold, your only requirement is to file the franchise tax, the report, annually by May 15th of every year. You get a notification at the beginning of every year from the comptroller's office to let you know that the franchise tax is due by May 15th. If you do not pay it by May 15th, then that tax is then your tax report is late, and you will be required to pay a $50 late fee. If you do not file that tax 3 years in a row, then you will the comptroller's office will shut your business down per se, meaning that they will put a freeze on your accounts, and you will not be able to legitimately do business in the state of Texas. Now, pause, calm down. It is very easy to get it reinstated. You would just have to pay $150, which is the late fees, the 3 years of late fees, to get it reinstated and file the document, file the reports. So those of you who have got that notice or have experienced it know exactly what I'm talking about. But if you are not aware of the franchise tax, these are individuals that have an LLC, If you're a sole proprietor, you're not required to file the franchise tax. But if you have an LLC, S Corp, C Corp, then you must file the franchise tax. In the comptroller's office is the office that you would file that franchise tax form, that report to. Okay. Again, if you have questions, please put them in the Q&A area. Now, another step within the bookkeeping process is bank reconciliations. This is important. And again, another step that gets lost because, you've made the sale, you paid your bills, and you're, legitimately running your business appropriately, especially if you're paying your taxes and you're filing your tax reports. But this step is to recognize that what the bank says matches what your business says. And it is important, one, so that you know that, what you have in your bank account matches what's in your bookkeeping, okay, for your business. In addition, the IRS wants to know that you are controlling your business and you're not depending on the bank to tell you what sales you brought in, what expenses went out. You're just recognizing that the bank has those transactions going through. And especially in this technology age, you think, oh, well, I have QuickBooks and it's connected to my bank, all should be good. And that does happen. However, with technology, there's glitches, there's things that happen that you as an individual, as a business owner, as a person can identify that has not gone through the bank because of technology. So it's important that you are aware of what is going in and out of your business according to the IRS. So on a monthly basis, at the very least, on a monthly basis, compare your records to the bank to ensure that it's correct. Okay. Do banks make mistakes? Yes. Do we as humans make mistakes? So when we do the bank reconciliation, it allows us to make sure that we are both doing the right thing. Again, it should be completed on a monthly basis. The bank reconciliation should balance. It should be zero every month. If it's not, it is an opportunity for you to investigate what has gone wrong and for you to correct it. If you can't find what the discrepancy is, note it. Note the discrepancy on the bank reconciliation, and it shows whoever's auditing you, whether it's the IRS, whether it's the state of Texas, whether it's a contractor, that you have made note of the discrepancy, and you've moved on. And if it works itself out, then you have a notation that you have recognized the discrepancy. That is the expectation of the IRS or of an auditing agency, is that you're recognizing that there is a discrepancy, even if you can't fix it. So in the end, as a business owner, one of the most important aspects is the ability to analyze your sales and expenses and all the transactions so that you can be profitable, so that you can make business decisions, so that you can continue to grow or continue to be in business. Like I said, I've been in business for 16 years now, and it has been a long growth period, long growth. Sometimes growth happens in days, and sometimes it takes years. But in order for you to control and manage that and understand it, you need to have reports. And typically those reports that provide you with that information is your income statement or profit and loss statement, which is the same report, the balance sheet, as well as your cash flow statement. The income statement provides you with the income and expenses that have gone out and the balance of that per period. So typically the income statement or profit and loss statement is run on a monthly basis, but you can run it on a weekly, daily, quarterly, annual basis. I typically run a monthly report for me and my clients, so that we can analyze that report to say, okay, in the month of January, we made $500,000 in sales, which is abnormal. The last 3 months, February and March and April, we've only made $25,000 in sales. So in order for me to duplicate that $500,000 in sales, I analyze my income statement to tell me what I can do to replicate that same behavior. So it'll show you, the breakdown of your sales, where you received your sales from, whether it's from services, from products, what type of products. It depends on how your income statement is set up. And then it also tells me the expenses that I spent during that month and why was I so successful. It may be that my expenses were extremely low for that month, or they may have been higher than normal, but I exceeded my sales. And so I'm able to analyze that information to get the net income of 500,000, or did I say that? Yeah, $500,000 for that month. And so that's why the reports to the entrepreneur is highly important. All the other aspects of what we talked about in bookkeeping can be done by a bookkeeper and an accountant, but ultimately you need to know what these reports say on a monthly basis. If you've hired a bookkeeper or an accountant and they have not produced these reports for you, or not producing them for you at least on a monthly basis, you may want to have a conversation with them or seek another professional to help you get those reports on a monthly basis so that you can analyze them. The balance sheet provides you with information about your business from inception to date. The income statement provides you with that monthly information, right? But the balance sheet provides you with information from the time you started your business to the date that you run the report. And the information that it provides you is the listing of assets minus your liabilities, which equals the equity in your business, what your business is worth. That's what the equity is. Your assets include your bank accounts, any equipment that you own, vehicles, those are your assets. Then you have your liabilities, loans, credit cards. When you take those from each other, that equals the equity in your business. So that's what the balance sheet is able to tell you. So that if you're wanting to go to the bank and get a loan for $10,000 and you've made $1 million in sales since inception to date, then they're may be inclined to give you that $10,000 because you have that much equity in your business. Now, the cash flow statement is a statement that allows you to see how cash is flowing in and out of your business. I do recommend that report is run on a quarterly basis so that you can see from month to month how the cash is flowing in and out of your business. Running it on a monthly basis does not necessarily give you the data that you need. So the cash flow statement is typically a quarterly statement. Again, these statements should be run on a monthly or at least a quarterly basis. You want to review them for your current financial position to tell you where your business is going and the opportunities that you can take to take it to the next level. And so again, you would analyze that for future decisions. So say, for instance, your goal is to be a millionaire by next year, which is achievable. And what the statements will tell you is if it is achievable and how you can get there. So that's the reason why you would want to run these reports. Now, here are some bookkeeping notes and things that you may hear as people talk about your financial statement, your financial positions, just as you run your business. Cash versus accrual. Cash means that you accept the payment for your services or products at the time of the service. Now, this doesn't mean that you can't issue an invoice and accept it 30, the payment 30 days later or anything like that. But the expectation is that you would receive the cash as you provide the service. Now, accrual basis means, and it's typically in businesses like construction, where you have a service that you're providing over a period of time. And as you are providing the service, you're accruing the income. So that's the difference between cash versus accrual. There's also what's known as GAAP, or Generally Accepted Accounting Principles. That's what GAAP stands for. Or GAAP is a resource that is utilized by accounting or within the accounting industry to help you understand accounting terms. So if you have a question about debits versus credits, you can use the Generally Accepted Accounting Principles to determine that. Or you can use Uncle Google, and we'll talk more about that later. But Generally Accepted Accounting Principles helps you to understand accounting terms and accounting philosophies. Debits versus credits. So this is what, remember earlier I mentioned double entry accounting. This is what helps us to balance what goes in and out of your businesses, whether it's sales or expenses. So whenever you make whenever you have an expense, for instance, like I mentioned before, if you purchase office paper, then office expense line decreases, and increases. I was doing that right. Okay. The office expenses increases because that's the total of what you expensed for the office paper. Okay. And then of course your cash decreases. You're taking it from your cash, your available cash. And so whenever that happens, that's double entry accounting. And what happens is the left side is the debit and the right side is the credit. And that's double entry accounting. This is not an accounting class, so we're not going to do a deep dive in this, but I just want to let you know that there is what's known as the debits versus and the credits, and when it comes to double entry accounting. Also, another bookkeeping note is to keep receipts, which I mentioned earlier, especially for expenses $75 or more. If you're ever audited, now let's back up from the audit, because I don't want to scare people with audits, which we're going to talk about in a minute. But I do want to say that you do want to keep the receipts so that you have record of it, so you know what you spent at Seasons 52, or wherever you go to, that you spent $250, but you spend it because you purchased dinner for you and your client. They had the lobster, you had the lobster bisque. You want to see that detail and breakdown. Also, another person that wants to see it, or another entity that wants to see it, is the IRS. They want to see those receipts, because they want to see that, yes, you spent $250 at Capital Grill, and it was a dinner with your client, but they want to make sure that from that receipt that, two people did have dinner that day by the itemized receipt. You can easily spend $250 on yourself at Capital Grill. And so they want to make sure that it's truly a business expense. You typically want to write, met with client Sophia Loren on, that's kind of hard to do, right? Because I don't think she's living anymore, but Keanu Reeves, okay? Met with client Keanu Reeves, spent $250. They see it, they see the detail. Will they reach out to Keanu Reeves? They will, they can. It's a possibility, but they want to see that detail. retain records for 3 years. This is an IRS requirement for all businesses to retain records for at least 3 years. And then for this record retention, you do want to establish a workflow for each process. So if we go back to the first 2 slides and I showed you the workflow or the flow of a sales of a sale and the workflow of an expense, that is what is expected of you to retain that information, to show that you made a sale, to provide the invoice, to connect the receipt of the payment to the invoice, so on and so forth. There should be a workflow. That's what's called a workflow. The good news is that because of technology, we have systems that you can utilize that can retain that information for you, like QuickBooks. Now, I mentioned audits a couple of times throughout this presentation. And again, it's not to scare you, it's not to intimidate you, it's to inform you of the expectations of being in business. Audits happen. In fact, you should do your own audits to make sure that you're doing the right thing. Audits are simply a paper trail. That's what it is. It's just proving what you say you did in business. You have the paper to provide the proof. I have been through audits with EY, as well as Deloitte and Touche, to provide documentation of transactions that happen through the corporations that I work for, and getting those audits to 0 findings, which means that they weren't able to find any errors within the audit trail that of the audits that they conducted for our corporations. So when we think about audits, you're like, okay, what information do I need? There's what's called the ISO standard. You can Google that. And it provides you with the details and information of audits and what your expectations are. The IRS are not the only entity that does audits. You can be audited by the state of Texas. You could be audited by Workforce Solutions if you have employees. You can be audited if you have a contract with or a loan through the bank. These are different entities that can conduct an audit on you. The 2 industries that are audited the most are construction and restaurants. And the reason why they're audited the most is because they have a large amount of employees that go in and out of the business. So therefore, those industries get audited to ensure that the people that they say that they're hiring that are working for them are actually working for them. And so that's the reason why they get audited the most. Are they just auditing for their workforce? Not necessarily. They can audit for other reasons as well. Okay, I just lost my visual, so give me a second. Okay. I have no idea what's going on. Okay, we're back. For some reason, I could not see on my screen. I have no idea why that happened. So let's go. Okay, so that's audits. So the next topic that we will discuss is disaster recovery. So aside from audits, another reason why your bookkeeping should be intact, and the reason why you need to retain information, retain your records that is connected to your sales, your expenses, to all transactions that go through your business, is that if you experience a disaster, and it doesn't have to be a national disaster or an environmental disaster, it could be that you were robbed, which prayerfully that doesn't happen. But if you had a burglary and they took, information, that you have documentation of the things that they could have taken, like if they stole your laptop, or if your copier somehow found its way underwater, or your vehicle is you get into an accident. All of these are disasters that can happen and happen every day that you need to provide documentation for. Ideally, this is so that you have the information within your business and that you're proving that your business exists. But it also is used during insurance claims. For instance, again, to prove that the loss has happened, you in order to do that, you must produce certain material like photos of the copier that's underwater or damage to the vehicle, as well as provide receipts that you did actually purchase this and this wasn't a gift from grandma, that and that it proves that how much should be accounted for when you're being compensated for the loss. The receipt should include the brand, the model number, the serial number, the date of purchase. If your copier may have well surely went underwater and you did purchase it, but if you did purchase it 12 years ago, insurance terms means it's obsolete. So the date of purchase is important to prove that you just purchased that copier last week and now it's underwater. So all of this needs to be documented. This information should be retained in your records, but preferably in a cloud-based system so that it's not on a device that's also underwater too, like a thumb drive or paper. 25 years ago, everything was on paper. Very little was on computers. Nowadays, everything is capable of being in the cloud, whether it's through a system like QuickBooks or if you have Google Drive or an iCloud, information can be stored there. And I know there's a lot of people that are leery of cloud-based systems, but they are secure. With QuickBooks, their cloud-based system is bank encrypted, which means they use the same security level as banks. So that's the security level that you can expect from QuickBooks. Also, if, like Lolita mentioned earlier, if you're interested in a loan, you need all of this documentation to prove that your business existed. One of the first questions, and those of you who experienced the COVID pandemic and navigating through that, one of the first things that they asked you for is your income statement and balance sheet. Those are the first two documents, and that was to prove that you were in business during the period of time in order for you to receive the disaster recovery loans. So SCORE has created what's known as the Go Bag Checklist, and they created it, and this is the Houston chapter, so that's how innovative we are, created it for both the personal as well as the business use. And you can find that on our Houston.score website, and that's houston.score.org, under the resources tab at the very bottom, our Go Bag Checklist. Now, the link is here on the page, which I will, I think I can, oops, okay. Yeah, it's the type that I can't click on it, but you can go to our website and you can find the link or the resources there under the resources tab to get that checklist. And it's very resourceful. It tells you everything you need or things that are important to have in your go bag when a disaster hits. Okay. Another resource or opportunity that you have with bookkeeping is to automate. So everything that I've explained, again, can be done by hand, which means that you're printing out information, you put it into a paper file, a file cabinet, all of that. And then if you're like me, because I'm old school and proud of it, I do a hybrid method. I print things, I put it in my little file area, but then also I put it in a cloud-based system. I'm not a millennial, or what is it, alpha or something it's called. I'm Generation X. Okay. That's how old I am. And so I'm not too trusting of the cloud, but I use it. Okay. But I have my backup. But what you do want to do is automate. You want to make this easy on yourself. I can't imagine, and I say this, when I teach in person, and when I provide these trainings, I can't imagine doing accounting back in the 1700s, which it did exist. I can't imagine. Of course, they didn't have cars and that kind of thing, but they did have expenses and they did have sales, and I can't imagine doing that all by hand. Now we have an opportunity to automate it. QuickBooks is a very resourceful tool to do that. We will have a quick intro to QuickBooks training, webinar in the next couple of months. If you've had the opportunity to join us in the past, it provides you with all the information you need to know about obtaining a QuickBooks subscription and the tools and resources that are within that subscription. I also teach hands-on classes, so you can reach out to me to learn more about the classes that are available, and I'll put that contact information in the chat. But you want to automate in order to track your sales and expenses, especially payroll and taxes and mileage. All of this can be done within QuickBooks. I mentioned that you can utilize QuickBooks to track projects. If you're have contracts with the government, which is what Lalitha mentioned earlier today, tomorrow we will have a in-person presentation with the city of Houston discussing how to become a vendor with the city of Houston, as well as how to manage contracts as it relates to sales. And so we're going to be there to answer your questions in person at the HCC location in Missouri City. It is free. So all the burning questions you have about becoming a vendor with the city of Houston and how to manage those contracts, we're going to be there to answer those questions in person. So it will be at 1:00 at the HCC location in Missouri City. If you are interested in contracts, QuickBooks is a very good tool to help you manage those. Automating your bookkeeping allows you to produce financial reports very easily with a click of a button. Those of you who know me know my tagline is click, click, done when it comes to QuickBooks. Again, it is a cloud-based system. If you don't want to use QuickBooks, utilize your Google Drive, utilize your iCloud, utilize those resources to save your information in the cloud. And then also QuickBooks provides bookkeeping support. What I will say about their bookkeeping support is that you may have a different bookkeeper each month that you meet with them. And so that becomes a bit convoluted because you're reintroducing yourself to a bookkeeper every month. I didn't mention this in the beginning, but I used to work for QuickBooks. Not as a bookkeeper, but as a setup and closeout agent. So I do have the intel of their bookkeeping system. And when we did the cleanup, it was frustrating for us because we were cleaning up QuickBooks because there was multiple bookkeepers. So that's what I will say about their support. However, it is a resource that's out there. Another resource that's out there as it relates to QuickBooks and bookkeeping and accounting is the Pro Advisor system. where you can find a Pro Advisor or QuickBooks Pro Advisor in your area that when you put in the zip code, it'll find the list of Pro Advisors like myself who can either provide bookkeeping or accounting services to you through QuickBooks. So that is a resource that's out there as well. Here are some bookkeeping tips. Now, I gave you some bookkeeping notes before, but here are some tips of mine as an entrepreneur. First of all, Google is your friend. I call him Uncle Google. So if I have a question about, T accounts or, double entry accounting, debits versus credits, all I put in there is what is a debit versus a credit? Or, tell me what T account means. Not only will it give you, a rundown of what it means or a definition, but it will also provide you with videos. And there's a plethora of people out there that will give you their 2 cents on what a T account is and what debit versus credit and accrual versus cash. Go ahead and Google what you need. Secondly, open a business account. This is uber important. Those of you who are just starting out and you're using your personal account to run your business, okay, that happens, but go out there and find a business account. And the reason why I say find is because there are some banks that charge you for having a business account, $25 a month, $12 a month, $5 a month. I don't pay for my business account. So find a good bank that you like, that you can do business with over your business lifetime, to set up a business account. And if they do charge you and you like it, there's nothing wrong with that. That fee that they charge you on a monthly, that $12 a month, is tax deductible. So go, it's fine to do that. I prefer not to pay. So, but having a business account separates your personal transactions from your business transactions, of course. But this is important because the IRS does not want you to commingle funds. In fact, QuickBooks, if you onboard with QuickBooks, they will not continue to do business with you if you decide to use them for bookkeeping. If you're commingling funds, it's that serious. So set up a business bank account so that you can separate your personal from your business. Another reason is that if you're ever audited and you are running your business through your personal account, guess what? The IRS is now able to audit you on a personal level. So because you have commingled funds. So yeah, get on it. Next, develop a workflow system. As I mentioned earlier, you made a sale, you create an invoice, you hand that off to your administrative assistant to make sure that the payment is matched to the invoice, that it's documented in QuickBooks. Develop a workflow system within your business for everything that you do within your business. Fourth is to automate your system, as I mentioned before. QuickBooks is not the only one. There's other systems out there. I just prefer that one, and I do think it's better than the other ones. There are ones that are free, like Xero, but you get what you pay for. So evaluate and find out what system works best for you. Do a periodic review. Don't wait for someone to audit you. Audit yourself. Make sure that you're doing the things that you intend to do within your business. That's where your business plan becomes important, where processes become procedures and processes become important. Standard operating procedures become important, or SOPs, they become important. That's how you're able to make sure that you're doing what you intend to do in your business. If you have a restaurant, there are processes and procedures that you can adopt from other restaurants, other SOPs, standard operating procedures that you can adopt within your business so that you are doing what you intend to do within your business. Again, if I haven't drilled this in, retain your records. It's important to do so. not just for auditing purpose, but to ensure that you are doing what you want to do within your business as far as growth and leveling up. Okay, ask a pro. Okay, SCORE is here for you. We're here and we're free. It only takes your time to reach out to a SCORE mentor, to ask questions about different aspects of your business. And again, we are the largest chapter, so there's not much that we don't know within within our chapter. But if we don't know it, there's other chapters and other locations that we can get you involved with in order to help you run your business. Another one is to outsource. Outsourcing is highly important when it comes to growing your business. You cannot do this on your own. I know for me, being a solopreneur was fun. I'm an introvert. I could do this, all day on my own, but at some point, or at this point, I wanted to grow my business. I wanted to, make more than what I was able to produce on my own. And in order to do that, I have outsourced. And so it's important for you to outsource. I know it can be expensive. I know it can be more than just, running your business. But if you want to grow, if you want to serve in your purpose, you're going to have to grow. And in order to do that, you would need to outsource. Number 9, expect payment at the time of service. This is my little pet peeve. And I was, because I love to help people. I love, to help watch and see other people grow. I'm a nurturer. That's who I am. I'm a teacher, and in the beginning it was, I was, okay, you can pay me, next month. And then next month, okay, you could pay. Now you pay me at the time of service. Otherwise, you're going to get a late fee, or there will be no more service, because my time is more valuable than the money that you're giving me. And so if I'm able to give my time to people who respect my business, then I'm able to provide my service more and more. It's not restricted to waiting on someone to pay my invoice. So expect payment at the time of service. You're valuable and you are worthy of getting paid for what the information and the services and products that you provide. Okay, number 10, everything is fixable. So I know a lot of you are grasping your pearls, you're wondering, you're taking a deep breath. How do I do all this? And what if I get it wrong? So many times I get people, I'm afraid to use my QuickBooks because I'm going to break it. You're not going to break it. Everything, especially in accounting, is fixable. Okay, so take that leap, take that dive, and start your business, or take it to the next level. Do what you need to do in order to grow your business. Okay, and so here's some other resources that I have found on the IRS website. Now, a lot of people are IRS, scary of the IRS, and yes, you should be, because they are a policing agency. They police to make sure that you are doing business appropriately in the United States and beyond. However, they're very resourceful as well. And so questions about self-employment, being in business, small business, as well as the gig economy, they have tips and information on their website. The links are there, but you're able to go onto their website and pull down that information. Very resourceful. They're giving you the information to do your business appropriately. And so when they audit you, that's why sometimes they're a little bit tough, because they're giving you the resources. But I can tell you that they are resourceful and helpful when it comes to doing and running your business. Okay, so we have reached the Q&A time, right on time. All right. So this is your opportunity to put your questions in the Q&A area. I see we have over 100 chat transactions in the chat area. So if you have any questions in the chat area, please move them to the Q&A area so that we can ensure to answer those questions, because it'll take us a long time to get through that chat. So if you have any questions, please feel free to put it in the Q&A area. Lolita, we're ready.
Yeah. The first question was, he says he's opening a restaurant. If
Mhm.
I pay for services like QuickBooks, Gusto Wallet, and 7Shift, would I still need to keep a person or paper accounting files for myself,
Yeah, and so that's a good question. You know, again, I'm hybrid. I keep paper files, but using QuickBooks or other automated systems is sufficient for you to retain your records. But just know that it is technology, so you should back it up if you can. With QuickBooks, even though QuickBooks is in the cloud and you don't have to back it up, you have the capability of backing it up, putting it on a thumb drive periodically or something to that effect. But yeah, you can keep a paper file, but it's not 100% necessary.
Yeah. He says his QuickBooks Essential and Salesforce CRM. How do I sync the two together?
Okay. Yeah. So with Salesforce, you would just connect the app to your QuickBooks Essentials. You should not need to upgrade in order to connect the app, the Salesforce app, to your QuickBooks Essentials. And then how you do that is on the left gray toolbar. At the very bottom, you'll see apps, and that's where you can search for the app to connect your Salesforce. Now, QuickBooks has acquired what is it, MailChimp? And so that is a CRM that you can use within the QuickBooks system as well.
He says he has a few rental properties and would like assistance with proper setting up with keeping the books and business set up. As
Okay.
an LLC, he says he's already set up. She says she set up the LLC, but needs tweaking. I'm not sure what that means.
Okay.
Any legal question, you can send it to me and I can forward it to our lawyer.
Mhm.
So, but setting up how to set up books for rental properties.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So if you need assistance with setting up QuickBooks, I'm available for that, and I'll put my information in the chat. Yeah.
Someone was asking, are sales taxes required to be paid on digital products? For example, a service business that sells a downloadable Excel template. I'm going to tell you that you need to contact the state sales and sales section, the controller's office, because some services are taxable. They
Yes.
tax them. So you're going to have to make double sure that you are not in that category. We can only give you general ideas because
Right.
I was surprised to see how many services they tax, So
Yeah.
to contact the controller state office,
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, digital product we talked about. Are there differences between taxes required for a service whereas a physical product?
Yes. So there are some services that are that require sales taxes, but all physical products require sales taxes.
Yeah.
But you would reach out, like Lolita said, reach out to the comptroller's office, especially as it relates to digital products. I've had that question in the past. And so the comptroller's office will be able to delineate that for you.
Yeah, that is kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Whether you are a sole proprietor LLC or you are a corporation, if you are a limited liability company LLC, you do have to file a franchise report every year, because franchise tax may not be applicable unless you make $1 million and more dollars, But you do have to file your report because they want to make sure that your contact and other information is still correct,
Yes.
So that's what you have to do. It doesn't matter what you are.
Yes. Yeah. The only entity that does not have to file a franchise tax report is a solo proprietor. So, but once you become an LLC, that's when you have to file the report. Now, paying it, like Lolita said, you if you are beyond the $1.8 million threshold, then they want to have a conversation with you about paying the tax.
You know, self-employment taxes, even you don't make annually enough to have an official business entity. It depends. If you are self-employed, you had an LLC, I mean a DBA, you are going to file a Schedule C.
Mhm.
Any profit you make on a Schedule C will still be profit for you, and you will be subject to self-employment taxes.
That's correct. Now, Lalitha, she is so humble. She didn't mention to you guys, she is a CPA. So she's got your back. Okay. She's telling you the right thing. So yeah, as far as the self-employment tax, they're going to get it one way or another, either annually or quarterly. The quarterly is estimated self-employment taxes. And by the time you file your annual, that's when they're going to get it as a whole.
You know, you may worry that I have to pay self-employment taxes, but in your tax things, you can deduct part of it, you know, you pay. But remember, as a self-employed person, it's better for you to contribute your Social Security, because when you get much later and you want to draw Social Security, they will check how many quarters you have paid and how much you have paid. So it is an advantage, you know, so don't worry about that. Sales tax again. Sales taxes will, like Jeda and I've been telling, you know, even if you have a quick cookie business, if you sell product, you have to pay sales tax, you know. But there may be a cottage loss, maybe you can check it out. But I'm saying that if you are in Texas, if you sell anything, this controllers off, they want the money from you, you know. So,
Yes.
but remember, when you charge sales tax, you are charging the customer. You're collecting it from them. You're not paying it out of your pocket. So you collect from them and you're sending it back to the state, you know.
Right. I didn't say that. And this is clearly, as Lalitha has said, you are serving as a conduit between the purchaser and the comptroller's office. So you're taking that 8.25% from the purchaser and then giving it to the comptroller's office. A lot of businesses make the fallacy or the mistake of thinking that 8.25% is their income that they can keep. And the comptroller's office, it says no, especially if you're selling a product.
Yeah.
Mhm.
If I've been in business for a few months and done only few sales, if I start QuickBooks now, do I need to update or keep records for the past few months?
Yes, and it's easy to do that because once you connect your business bank account to QuickBooks, you can download the transactions into your QuickBooks and then you can categorize them. So you can go as back as the bank allows you to go. Some banks allow you to go 6 months and even a year to download the transactions. So you'll be able to go back those few months.
How much does it cost to use QuickBooks? You have
So
various types, so you have to listen to the webinar next month to figure out what's the best for you, you know.
That's right. There's 4 subscription levels. Actually, there's 5. There's self-employed, which I don't recommend if you are doing anything beyond a gig economy business. So if you are Uber driver, DoorDasher, the self-employed version is perfect for you. But if you are a full-fledged business, you're going to need an income statement and a balance sheet. And so you would start with Simple Start. Then there's Essentials, QuickBooks Online Plus, and then QuickBooks Advanced. And again, like Lalitha said, we'll talk about it in the intro to QuickBooks
Join
webinar.
us next month. Next month.
But
You know,
to answer your question, it starts at I'm sorry, $25 a month. And right now they're running a special at 70% off. So you can get it for like $9.
okay.
Yeah.
What do you mean by outsourcing? Outsourcing is any job you give to somebody else and they do it for you. You know, it could be sales, it could be software or anything. And even accounting, that's what we used to say. Give it to an accountant who can do your books for you, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So bookkeeper kind of thing. So you can outsource any task that you feel like you want to give it to somebody. But remember, it costs you money when you start to outsource because they are not going to be cheap. And
Right.
also, if you outsource some confidential information, be sure that check it out, that you do have some kind of contract with them so that they cannot use your information like software or anything, even sales, you don't want them. So make sure you have a contract with them when you outsource your product, that's very, very important to
Absolutely.
safeguard your own self, Um, uh, you say, I have been in business for a while and have not been doing bookkeeping correctly. Where should I start? What should I do first? I think maybe you should come by, talk to one of our SCORE mentors to tell them what you have done and
Mhm.
what you have not done. If you think that our Gessner office is too far away for you, you can always request for a mentor and tell them. Many of them do Zoom nowadays, and you can show them what is it that you have done and how you can correct your keeping your accounts. That's what the
Yes.
best thing I would be.
Yes.
But you can look at sample business plan and see all the different categories of expenses, or you can make yourself a list of all the things that you're paying for. Are you paying for utilities? Are you paying for license? Are you paying for marketing? So make a general list of all the things that you're spending money on. That is actually categorizing them, easy way of doing it,
Yeah, I personally, I mean, this is just me, and you know what I'm going to say. I would go ahead and get QuickBooks, connect your account. Even if you can't connect the account, and you have the bank statements, you can physically upload the statements or the transactions to your QuickBooks, and that way you can analyze or categorize the transactions to see, what you've done in the past. It's the easier way to do the bookkeeping that you haven't done in the past.
Yeah. Is resume writing and interview coaching considered service-based or product-based? I would think it will be service because you're writing, you're interviewing.
Yeah.
But I am not sure whether that has to be taxes because I am very skeptical of that. Like I said, check in the services that are being charged in the sales tax for the controller's office, state of Texas, That's what it is.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's class at Missouri City, you can go to our website, Houston SCORE, and take a look at the classes that we are offering. There should be a link up there that you can sign up,
Yes,
Uh,
there's the
yeah.
link. The link is up there, and
Yeah.
we ask that you register. You can show up, but we ask that you register so that we can make sure you get the information after the class is over.
What are your thoughts about QuickBooks Online? I think it has its own good and bad stuff, right?
Yes.
Online.
Yes. So as you have indicated here, yes, QuickBooks Desktop is phasing out, and that's official. I used to speculate before because of online, but it is documented that it is phasing out. In fact, if you have QuickBooks 2020 or older, QuickBooks no longer supports it, meaning that any technology that you have connected to that QuickBooks Desktop, it is no longer supporting it. And by 2025, which is only less than 2 years from now, QuickBooks Desktop will not exist. So QuickBooks Online, I've always been, a proponent of QuickBooks Online because it's you can utilize it anywhere, anytime in the world. It's accessible on any device, whereas QuickBooks Desktop is only accessible on one device that you download. It's very clunky in how you use it, whereas QuickBooks Online is very streamlined. Again, we are having a webinar next month for introduction to QuickBooks, but I also teach in person as well as in-person classes as well as one-on-one training.
This person is saying their QuickBooks Online, their bank dashboard and QuickBooks balance, they're off. He reconciled everything and fixed it up, but every month there is some variance coming up. Is that because the information is not being downloaded from the bank?
Yeah, it could be a multiple, Aaron, there could be a multiple of reasons of why it's off balance, but you're absolutely correct that those two numbers should be the same if you're reconciling it every month. But it would take someone doing a little dive into your QuickBooks to see what's wrong, what's going on with it. That's where you can seek a pro advisor like myself by going to QuickBooks Pro Advisor and putting in your zip code, and it'll give you a list of individuals that can assist you with correcting it. Now, me as a score advisor, I could talk to you all day about your QuickBooks, but I can't, because of ethics reasons, I can't fix your QuickBooks. I can talk to you about possible problems, but I can't go in and fix it through SCORE.
Yeah. You know, what professional online payroll services do you recommend? If you have QuickBooks, you should be able to do payroll on QuickBooks.
Yes, and I am going to recommend QuickBooks Payroll.
Yeah.
I've utilized the other payroll systems, the big ones. I'm not going to name them, but and they have failed in comparison to QuickBooks Payroll. I've run into where I've had clients come to me where the other systems didn't complete the payrolls on time. I've never had that problem with QuickBooks Payroll. It's more affordable. They handle all of what you need done for your payroll. So everything from making the payment, direct deposits, to paying your 941 reports and submitting those. So I do recommend QuickBooks Payroll.
Yeah, that'd be easy. Somebody said, how do I track loans that I'm taking? Are those business expense? No. What you're doing is, instead of putting your own money, which would be equity in your company, you are borrowing money and you're using that. So whatever you borrow, that's a liability that you have. And what you spend out of that money that you borrow will be your expenses. You could have borrowed $10,000, but you might have spent only $8,000. So your expenses would be $8,000, whereas the two that you still have in your bank will be cash, but the liability will still be 10,000. So the loan itself is not an expense. The interest you pay on the loan is an expense. And anything that you use it for could be an expense, you know. Sir, ma'am, we don't have any idea why a county has to charge property taxes. You may have to ask the county that you are in, why are you charging equipment on mine, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, we do have a lawyer that can help you, but to set up an LLC, or you have any kind of questions, you know. How do I switch from a C Corp to
Can I say something about that?
Yeah.
Please come to SCORE first.
Yeah.
My screen is doing it again, but yeah, please come to SCORE first. They will give you all of the information you need in order to set up your LLC. The organizations that charge, and I won't say the name,
Yeah.
I have found that they don't do it accurately. And then they often leave you hanging. So please come to SCORE first.
Yeah. How do I switch from a C Corp? A C Corp means you have shares and all that. So you're going to have to return that, close it up as a C Corp. And then you have to open an LLC. I don't think you can, if you had an LLC and you set it up as a corp, you can go back and change it from the state. But if you have a C Corp set up separately, to set up an LLC, you're going to have to go through a bunch of procedures. So send us the email and we'll see if we can connect you up with our lawyer, you know. Do you have an existing? Well, you know, chart of accounts are based on businesses. You know, if you are a service business, you may not have inventory, you may not be paying sales tax for buying it or freight. So it depends on the kind of business you have, you know. So you can send again an email to us and we'll see how we can help you with that, you know.
Yeah. If you choose to go with QuickBooks, they'll develop a chart of accounts for you. based on the industry that you have. So if you a restaurant business, when you get the QuickBooks subscription, it asks you what type of business you have. You say restaurant, and then it'll pull up a chart of accounts for you. And that is a chart of accounts that you can add to or remove accounts from.
Yeah. So, I'll definitely give my email in a minute, SCORE does provide QuickBooks on Zoom. We are not doing in-person workshops, If you want to make yourself an employee of your company, the only way is if you have a DBA, then you cannot be an employee. You will be the owner and the thing. Unless you have a S Corp or a C Corp, you will not be able to be an employee of your company, And
S Corp, you're required to be an employee of your business. That's the reason why they developed the S Corp.
Right.
But if you are a sole proprietor, LLC, it's not required that you are an employee of your business.
Yeah. Well, if someone said, I have a business account, I use my personal account and personal credit card. Well, if you have already used it, make sure that you separate out the business expenses from your bank account as well as your credit card. And in the go forwards, don't use them. What they are asking is, can more than one account be added to QuickBooks?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You can have as many bank accounts as you'd like to connect to QuickBooks, whether it's savings, money market, credit cards, anything that you want to track, you can connect to QuickBooks. You can have other businesses. If you have QuickBooks Plus, you can have, if you have, a consulting business and a bakery business, you can connect both of those to your QuickBooks. So it is an option.
Yeah. So, as a DBA, we already mentioned that you cannot be an employee, so that's a problem. Let me see whether there's some, a lot of questions on QuickBook training, cost. I think we're going to answer that maybe next month or later, because we're kind of running out on time. Let me see.
I see a question. Andrea, my contact information is in the chat. If any of you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, you're able to. I've also put my SCORE email in there. So all of my contact information is in there.
Yeah.
Attica, QuickBooks Self-Employed, again, is typically used for individuals who have like DoorDash or Uber Eats or something to that effect. However, if you are anticipating on your business growing, it is your source of income, then I would change to Simple Start.
Yeah, someone mentioned that if you are selling stuff, you're buying stuff and you're selling it, you can get an exemption when you buy it. You don't pay the sales tax. Sales tax is always paid by the end user, So that's a little bit of a difference there, You can apply.
And to clarify, so when we hear sales tax, when you as the business owner is going to purchase items to resell or to use within your business that you're going to sell, then when you go to purchase them, you can get a certificate that proves that you don't pay sales tax to the purchaser. So let me give you an example. You go to since I've used Walmart before, you go to Walmart to get fabric to make stuffed animals. When you go to Walmart, you can provide them with a sales exempt tax form and they won't charge you sales taxes. But when you go to sell that stuffed animal to your end user, that's when you collect sales taxes from the end users, from the customer, and then pay that 8.25% to the comptroller's office. So it's a step here. Okay. I think a lot of people get confused that if they get the tax exempt certificate, they don't have to pay the sales taxes. No, if you're selling that stuffed animal, you then have to collect the 8.25% from your customer and then pay it to the comptroller's office in the end.
Yeah, I'm not very sure about this question. I don't have any inventory. The company keeps that track of the customer and all. I think it's a 1099. It depends upon what your relationship with this company is. If they treat you as an employee, then they'll have to give you a W-2. But if they only have you on a contract basis, they will just give a 1099, you know.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
I see one, Lorna says, as a startup, 8 months, should I pay for QuickBooks? I recommend using QuickBooks as soon as you start, your business. Now, your assumption is that I haven't made any sales yet, but you have purchased things to run your business. And so you need to track those expenses so that when you do, file taxes, you have even if you make no sales the entire year, you have a tracking of the expenses so that you can use those for tax deductions to prove that you were in business. So you should get QuickBooks as soon as possible.
My business has been established for past 4 years and never had a DBA. I'm not sure. How did you file your taxes for 4 years that you have been in business for, If you didn't have a DBA, but you could have used you didn't have a company name or a EIN number, but maybe you used your social security number. If you had to get you're going to start another one, you can get a DBA from the county. That's what the DBAs are always with county where you live in, where you're going to do your business,
And let me go and take that a step further. If you have a DBA in Houston, in this, Harris County, and you decide to do business in an adjacent county, you will need to get a DBA from them as well. Okay. And that typically is that you are going to that county and you are setting up shop. You are selling to their community. They want to be aware of your business, doing business in their area. So that's what the DBA is for, doing business as.
Yeah. There is no, to get a loan, to start up loan, the banks would be looking at how much money you're putting in the business, what kind of business you're going to be in, what are you projecting to be your income so that you can pay your loan back, It's not how many years you have been in business. It is your capability of paying the loan back that they're going to be looking at, So that's where the question on loans come,
Right. Herbert says, can I merge into a personal to QuickBooks Online, or is that advised? Herbert, I do not advise that. QuickBooks Online is for business purposes only. If you want to track your personal transactions, I would use Quicken or Mint, and those are both Intuit products. So it's still the same company, it's just created for personal use. So Quicken or Mint would be what you would use for personal transactions.
Yeah, if you receive cash and you use it for expenses without going to a bank or making a deposit, you do have to show that you have received the cash for whatever service you provided and that you are using it, So that means it would be better you deposit the money in the bank rather than just using it as cash comes in to be using it. That would be a little bit, because there may be times when it may be detrimental because you may not be showing expenses that you can deduct as an expense for inventory or anything, So let me see anything else here. I see. I'm not in Houston. How I can get into about contracting? Oh, contracting, if you are thinking of federal contracting, you can always go to SBA in wherever you are and look for federal contracting, and they may be able to connect you with local authorities. You may have a city or a county, like even the Texas governor's office, they have webinars on contracting. So you need to check of your local resources where you can get information on contracting. Our local office, SBA office, has got some webinars they do, I think, on every month on contracting, which is mainly for federal contracting, because NASA, the Department of Health, and the San Antonio Army, all of them are buying services and things. So in order to see where are the potentials for you to be able to make use of that, I would look for the district office's website. We do put in our email information about their upcoming events that the SBA holds, but it'll be better for you to look at the SBA office. Okay, you can go to sba.gov/Texas or /Houston and look at it, okay?
Also the Apex Accelerator,
Uh-huh.
and they are a national organization as well, and they can help you with contracting. Rosalind says, have you used the 401k plan with QuickBooks? I have not used it. I do know that it's offered. Just recently, or within the last year, QuickBooks has onboarded HR services and offering retirement opportunities through their payroll system. So I do know that it is an option. I just have not used it. And then Herbert says, are tools or equipment considered inventory in a services-oriented business? No. If you're using tools and equipment to provide a service, that is not considered inventory.
Yeah. Okay, so that's about, I see, I'm going to go ahead and put my address. We talk about S Corp. I think that's, you really have to talk to legal people, because
Yes.
we may not be giving you the right idea,
Right.
And someone said they have reached out to school and was assigned a mentor and they didn't show up. So please send me an email, and with your email address, I can figure out who is the mentor and I can get in touch with them and make sure that they contact you. Okay, thank you. So let me just, they're talking about ADP, QuickBooks, so it's a Square. We have to carry the forms with us. Well, if you already purchased some supplies and you paid the taxes, well, all I can say is you include it in your cost because you already paid it. I don't think they ever refund any taxes.
You can file the report, but I think there is a penalty for doing it wrong. So hopefully the what you're asking to be refunded outweighs the penalty.
You know how it is. I'm sorry to say, when once you pay to the government, it's kind of hard to get it back.
Yep.
Even income tax. Just think, if you have to get a refund, it takes longer compared
Yes.
to what they will charge you for not paying penalty is very quick to come, but refund takes time. So,
Right.
I mean, I can understand they have to make sure that what you are saying is correct and everything else, So, is that Apex Accelerator with the SBA?
No, it's a collaborative. Not a collaborative, excuse me. It is a separate entity, but we all talk to each other, right? Lolita. So but it's not a part of SBA.
Yeah, but they do work with them, So yeah. Thank you, everybody. Jetta,
Yes.
thanks again.
Thank you.
I have put my email address and Jetta's email, and you can contact us. Okay. Your score mentor is Otis. Hey, call me on a Thursday. I'm in the office and Otis normally comes to the office and I will see if I can connect him with you. Okay, thank you. And you are happy girl 97B. Okay, thanks again, everybody. Have
Thank
a
you.
good day. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.